Hi everybody, and today I'm going to talk to you about eco schools. So as it's September, it's that time of year where you're going to be setting everything up. So eco schools have recently changed how they do things. Previously it was that you could self-assess and apply for a bronze award or a silver award, and then if you wanted the top of it, the green flag, you had to submit an application and make sure you met all 7 of the standards. Well, this year eco schools have said that they want all schools to apply for a green flag by the end of the year, so it means you need to meet all 7 criteria. So eco schools is all about 10 different themes. So the themes are energy, waste, litter, water, global citizenship, healthy living, oceans, transport, biodiversity and school grounds. And the idea is that you pick certain themes that you choose to focus on as a school. So the first thing you need to do is set up your eco committee. Eco schools have said that if it's the first time you're applying for a green flag, you don't have to have different year groups. But if you're reapplying for a green flag, which is what we are doing next year, then you've got to make sure you have every year group covered. So if you're a primary, you've got to have at least one child from reception to year 6 on your committee. If you're in secondary, one child from years 7 to 11. If you have a sixth form, then you need to get them involved as well. The idea is that your eco committee meets at least once every half term to go through their ideas and monitor progress based on the ideas that you've drawn up. For me personally, I get my eco committee to meet once a week because there's always so much to do, and we will have formal meetings every now and then where we take minutes and we record that and we feed back the things that we've come up with. But other weeks we might do things that are linked to our actions, like watering the plants or litter picking, counting crisp packets, whatever it might be that you've chosen to focus on. Once you're set up your committee, then you can do an environmental review. So you get the committee members to sit down. Eco schools have a template for this with key questions that you go through and check to see if your school is or isn't doing them, which is really helpful because you can see what of those 10 areas you will need to focus on. You need to pick 3 different areas to focus on, and if you're new in your green flag, they ask that you change at least one of these areas so that you're focusing on different things. So you don't have to do it all, just think about what are the key areas you need to focus on. So for example, when we applied for our green flag, our 3 areas were energy, litter and recycling, because we felt those were things that we needed to focus on first as a school. And now that we're reapplying for our green flag, we switched out and we're looking at biodiversity and our school grounds, but we're still maintaining the things that we were doing in terms of litter, waste and energy. We've kind of knocked off energy from that list. Once you've gone through your environmental review, then you can draw up your action plan. So this is where you highlight those key areas and decide what you're going to do to achieve them. So it might be that you want to reduce litter, so you're going to think about how you can do that around the school. So the children might do an assembly, they might make posters to put up, they might go out litter picking and get children around the school involved in litter picking. You might want to litter pick around your local community as well. It might be you want to increase the biodiversity in your school grounds, so you might want to plant wildflowers and grow trees. Let the children lead the ideas, and then you're supporting them in drawing up that action plan. And again, the eco school template for action plan is really child friendly, so that they're writing down their ideas and you're setting yourself time frames within which that you need to do each of these actions. So you might break things down into smaller steps. The next thing that you need to do is ensure curriculum links. So you need to make sure that environmental science is linked across your curriculum. So there's different ways that you can do this. For example, if you're picking up pieces of litter, you could get children to do this in their maths lessons and create a tally chart or a graph. You might get the children to write letters in their English lessons to your local MPs complaining about plastic pollution in the oceans. You might do something in your science lesson where you go around and look at biodiversity within your school grounds. There's so many different things that you can do where you can link the different aspects of eco schools to your curriculum. but you need to show evidence that this is happening in different year groups across the school. Once eco is part of your ethos, it's really easy for teachers end up tending to do these different things. You might want to have an eco week, for example. That's something we always do, where you can make those links in different subjects as well. Step number 5 is about informing and involving everybody in your school and your community. So that includes your parents, your governors, and if you want to reach it out further, so for example, if you want to have a community litter pit, which is something that we did a couple of years ago pre-COVID, you might want to have a allotment where you get the local community involved and you sell your produce to local community. But you also need to inform everybody about what's happening. So that's where you need to make sure that in your school newsletter you're reporting the different things that you've achieved, like, oh, we've collected this many crisp packets. You might want to do an assembly, not just educating the children about things they need to do to improve, but also things that you've done and that you've achieved. So you're constantly keeping everyone involved and part of that. Eco Schools is all about the school ethos and building, caring about the environment into everything that you do. Step number 6 is monitoring and evaluation. This is one I often find the hardest, but it doesn't have to be complicated. It could be simply a photo of before, where you haven't litter picked, and then a photo of afterwards. It could be the number of bags you've litter picked on a litter pick. It could be going around and point scoring who's turned off their lights and who's turned down their radiators, and doing a competition to see which class is the most eco-friendly. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. And then you could, again, incorporate that into your maths lessons. We've done it before where we collect crisp packets, and we've got the year 6s to find what the average number of crisp packets is that we collect in a year, for example. And then the final thing you need to do, number 7, is your eco code. So the children need to be involved in this and come up with some sort of list of rules that everyone in the school is going to follow in order to be eco-friendly. We made ours into a kind of acrostic poem where we had eco code written down the side, and the children came up with simple sentences, and it has to be linked to your theme. So if your themes are to do with waste, something about recycling there, if it's about litter, about picking things up off the floor, whatever it is, and get the children involved. And your eco code needs to change to adapt to what your themes are. So we've had the same eco code for a couple of years where we've had the litter and the waste, but now we're going to have to change it to incorporate our new themes of biodiversity and school grounds. And once you've achieved all these steps, you can constantly be monitoring on the Eco Schools website, so you can start filling out parts of your application as you go. So for example, your eco committee, they recommend that you fill that in October, November time, and by December you can start putting your action plan and things on there. So you're collecting your evidence as you go along. You might want to keep a folder or an online folder with photos and your minutes, whatever it might be, so that you've got that evidence ready for submittal at the end of the year. I'm not sure how it's going to work this year in terms of submitting for the green flag, but when we had to do it initially, I had to answer questions and submit photographic evidence, for example, where we'd incorporated eco schools into curriculum. I had to show our notice board, which included our action plan, our environmental review, evidence of what we'd done, who was on the team, our eco code. So just keep that in mind as you're going through the process, and making sure you're keeping an evidence folder so that you're ready for when the application comes at the end of the academic year. Okay, I hope that helps, and hopefully I'm going to do a video soon with kind of top tips of things that you can do with your eco team, or if you want to run an eco club, different activities you can do.